Okay, so anyone who made it to class this week knows that we really did not cover anywhere near the material we needed to. So I am making this lecture video in an attempt to help catch us up because the term is only so long and we have a lot to cover. I may be adjusting the syllabus a tad to try to facilitate, but there is no way I can let it go that we only covered 2 chapters this week. So this video lecture is going to be on chapters 22 and 23. That way, at least we're a little bit more. My plan is to attempt to do a few more lecture videos so we can keep getting caught up, but it might not be until next week. But at least there's this one. So without further ado, and I honestly don't know if any of you have ever done any of these, my lecture video things. So, um, here we go. Chapters 22 and 23. Starting with chapter 22, gas exchange. I kind of want to make a joke on that one. I don't mean to, but it's basically going to be and which you're going to see me do a lot. And if we were in person, totally would have done it. This past week, we actually talked a bit about about some risks and what you shouldn't do. I kept talking mostly about the cognitive health and damaging the cilia in your lungs, but we're going to cover a lot of this. Pointing out all these things are bad, but we're going to come to it. So, gas exchange, the interchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide between an organism and its environment. So basically, we have the switching. In Bio 123, you had to learn about cellular respiration. That's where it's all happening inside your body. Your cells are taking in the oxygen and letting off the carbon dioxide. In this one, we're going to talk not just about that. We're taking that, but we're going farther. We're going to talk about how it gets in and out of the body. And we're even going to talk about the heart, but I'm not sure if that's this or the next chapter. So, 3 phases. Breathing, there you go. Transport by the circulatory system. So that means when you breathe in, you take in the oxygen. It's then going to get into your blood. So then the circulatory system is moving the blood around your body to distribute the oxygen. And then the exchange of gases within the body cells. So this is where your body tissues are then going to take up the oxygen from the blood, and then it's going to let out the carbon dioxide into the blood. I was about to say clean blood and dirty blood, but we haven't gotten there yet. And I don't know if you ever heard that phrase. So it's coming, just so you know. So this is showing you simply how it all works. The person breathes in the oxygen, goes into the lungs. It goes into the blood in the lungs, which then go pump into the heart. The heart pumps it out to the rest of the body, goes through all the veins, or actually all the arteries. And you have these capillaries that just kind of taper off. And so that's where it then diffuses from there into the tissues. At the same time, those capillaries are taking in the carbon dioxide and then bringing that back into your system. That would be your veins. And then the veins like, woo! And then that brings it back to your heart, which then pumps it back into your lungs and drops off the carbon dioxide. And then you exhale. It is amazing that this happens like constantly, and we don't even have to think about it. I say that, and now at least one person is probably going to be thinking about breathing, and then that mucks you up. Anyway, respiratory surfaces need to be thin and moist. Everything has to be wet. That's pretty much all there is. So in most animals, they have gills or the tracheal system or lungs. And that's how it all works. The gills, like on a fish, absorb oxygen that's dissolved in the water. So even when something is not a mammal, you're just thinking of a fish. And of course, I'm going to think of sharks because I like sharks. They're not coming up for oxygen because there is oxygen in the water. And so when the water goes through there and goes across the gills, it's like in the mouth and across and out. The gills are capturing the oxygen and then pulling it in while it's also letting out the carbon dioxide, which I think is kind of cool. So here it's just letting you know this is called the countercurrent exchange. You don't really have to know that unless you just think it's interesting. 2 big advantages of breathing air. The air has way more oxygen than water. I mean, kind of self-explanatory there. And air is lighter and easier to move than water. So breathing just air, way easier, takes a lot less effort, lot less energy for the body. And that's pretty much why in the evolutionary chain, that's one of the things we evolved to be able to do. Tracheal system of the insects, they came up with their own little system. We got pictures in a minute, I believe, unless I got rid of it. Colonization of land by the vertebrates, one of the big things that happened. I think I've talked about this previously in class, where the fish, some form of fish, they basically, oh, I did when I talked about the lobe-finned fishes, that their pectoral fins worked almost like little legs. And so then they were able to get up. And so the first few of those tetrapods were able to use that in order to get up on land, but they couldn't really get on land until they could breathe air. And so that's what they say is what happened. Gosh, I really want interaction for this one because I have all these other things I want to say, and that's what happens in our class, and that's why we only cover 2 chapters. But ask me about it later. I was going to talk about the mammals that are in the ocean and the direction they went. So human respiratory system, this is what most people need to know about anyway. We've got the diaphragm, and this is what separates the abdominal cavity from the thoracic cavity down here and helps ventilate the lungs. This is why when you sit up, you're stretching out your diaphragm, you can actually breathe easier. If anybody has ever been in chorus or anywhere where you sing, they're always telling you to stand up, straighten your diaphragm, breathe from your diaphragm, all that stuff. There's a really cool Bill Nye the Science Guy thing where he talks about the lungs and he does a experiment, and I'm about to tell you about it, but then I realized, no, I think we're going to do it for a lab because I think I have everything we need for it in the lab. So I think we're going to do that. Don't let me forget. I'm actually going to write that down. Do Bill Nye lung experiment for lab. All right, I have written a note so I don't forget. All right, so mammals like us, we inhale through the nostrils into our nasal cavity. That's in here we go. When we do that, I'm assuming everybody knows we have nose hair. We have mucous membranes in our nose. This is in order to help. The hair and the mucus are our built-in filters. The hair is helping to filter the bigger particles. The mucous membrane is to filter the smaller particles. This is why if you've ever worked somewhere really gross, like when I was a mechanic, or I've mentioned it before, when I visited London, you go like this and you just got black stuff all over your hand. That's because your nose was doing its job trying to block as much of the toxins as it could. That's a cool thing. It also helps warm it and moisten it as it goes in, so it makes it easier to breathe. And then, of course, sampled for odors. We've got a sense of smell in order to kind of warn us about things. I mean, sometimes it's good things, but if something smells rancid, your body's letting you know, so then you don't consume it, that kind of thing. Inhaled air passes through the pharynx and larynx into the trachea, bronchi, and bronchioles. Oh, I can't word today. And the alveoli. I talked about that before. We had the picture where we showed the trachea and we showed how it branched off. And I was talking about the alveoli and how it looks like a root system. And then I talked about the little hairs, the hair-like structures. I talked about that when I was talking about smoking. So then we have specialized secretions that prevent the moist surfaces of the alveoli from sticking shut to keep it open. The mucus and cilia in the respiratory passage protect the lungs. The cilia is what I was talking about, like the hair-like structures. So here we go. We show you can breathe in through your nasal cavity or through your mouth. They're both connected. It is completely connected. And if you look at the picture, you will see that it's connected. This is how come sometimes you might eat something, you cough, or you laugh, and then it comes shooting out your nose. It's because it's all connected. We've got the larynx, which we all have known about, the trachea. We show the picture. And remember, right up here, we've got the epiglottis. It's not showing you that on here, but we talked all about it. Right lung, left lung, heart, all this stuff. So this is just simply all the stuff in your lungs for how they work. Cigarette smoking hazardous to your health. I wish there was a much more recent chart here. I think I want to find a newer one, but it's pretty much trying to show you how quickly it climbs. There is no question that smoking is bad for your lungs. No question at all. The issue is now they're finding out even a small amount is worse than they thought. And there are entire billboards that have been up telling you that if you have ever smoked, you should get your lungs checked. Because in Bio 123, we covered about the mortality rate of lung cancer, and it's pretty flippin' high. Most of the time, by the time you get diagnosed with lung cancer, it's normally going to be too late. Mainly because not a whole lot of people go, I think my lungs feel slightly different this morning, and then get it checked right away. Normally, by the time you notice something wrong, it's pretty wrong. The other respiratory diseases are going to be things like bronchitis, asthma, whatnot. So breathing, the actual act of breathing is bringing the stuff into the lungs through inhale, exhale. So whenever you hear inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. That's all there is to it. The ventilation occurs, negative pressure breathing. This means it's going to come in no matter what. What happens is your rib muscles and the diaphragm expand in order to pull it in. And this is one of those things. I'm sorry, my watch is doing something. Apparently, I gesticulate enough that I just hit my steps. This is something I will be showing you when we do that Bill Nye lab. So I'm not going to go super into depth on it. So again, inhale. The diaphragm, notice, it goes down, go, and then exhale. Diaphragm goes up to push it out. Inhale, exhale. Now, if you have ever done physical therapy, or you have ever had an occasion where you have a medical person trying to help you breathe correctly, it's because most of us don't. And you're like, how do I not breathe right? Well, dude, right there with you. If you ever look at a baby, watch a baby. Baby's got that big old belly that's just sticking out, and they're like, you see their stomach doing this. That's what you're supposed to do. It's so weird. As we get older and then we start getting self-conscious about stuff, we kind of try to hold our stomach tight. And then we start breathing higher up, and it causes a whole slew of issues. It is best if you can make yourself breathe from lower, because that is literally helping your diaphragm come down to make your lungs work better. It's weird. I know. I highly suggest, seriously, do a quick Google search about some kind of breathing exercise to learn how to breathe better. I will tell you, my physical therapist back in the day had me laying there, and I had to place my hands on my stomach. And every time I inhaled, I had to try to be as relaxed as possible, which doesn't work very well because I do not relax. And then I had to go, and I had to feel my stomach move my hands, and then you feel your chest kind of go, then takes effort. It's so funny. A moment ago when I first did it and I was pretending I was the baby, my back popped. And that tells me, again, I'm not breathing properly again. So it takes a lot, but that's the proper way to breathe. Breathing control centers in the brain coordinate the breathing with the needs by knowing whether you need more or not. So Here where it says a drop in blood pH triggers an increase in the rate and depth of breathing, it's not just when the pH drops, it can be a whole lot of things. So like if you're exercising, you are using more, which means more oxygen is needed. Your body, your tissues, your muscles, your blood is everything's going, we need more. And then that's why you start breathing in more. When you're scared, your heart's doing this. So it's going faster with if the blood is pumping through faster, obviously you're going to need more oxygen. So then your brain is going to say, dude, we need more. And then your breathing's going to kick up. It's really cool that our body knows what it needs, even when we don't listen. But some things we have zero control over, and that's one of them. When our body says we need more oxygen, our body's going to start trying to force us to obtain more oxygen. Doesn't mean it's always going to work, but the body's going to try. Which is why whenever you have that little kid who's like, I'm going to hold my breath till my face turns blue, go for it. It is not possible to hold your breath till you die. I mean, if you tied yourself to a weight and dropped yourself in water, yeah, but that's drowning. But like if you're just right here, sitting here, and I decide I'm going to hold my breath till I pass out, okay. Eventually I might pass out. And the first thing that will happen is I will go, and then I will have enough air again. You cannot hold your breath until you die. Toddlers don't even make it till they turn blue. I legit tested it on my kid way back when the first time Pax said, I'm going to hold my breath till my face turns blue. I'm like, go for it. He did not turn blue. It lasted only like maybe 20 seconds, if that. And then we were good to go and lesson learned. So there you go. This goes along showing you the thing. So like the blood carbon dioxide level goes down, and then the pH goes up. Then the pH falls due to rising levels. Well, I guess I should have started there. The normal blood, the carbon dioxide is in there too much. So like you're working out. And so it's moving faster than the oxygen that has come in. That's what causes the carbon dioxide to get higher, tells your brain this is happening, and then that makes your ribs and whatnot do their job to take it in, and then that's what brings the carbon dioxide down and the pH level back down. And I know I had that all confusing, but dude, it's been a long flipping day. I've already been with my mom for like 3 hours, and now I'm trying to knock this out before I go do other things. Transport of gases in the human body. I already told you this. The blood transports it. It picks up the oxygen, delivers it, drops it off, picks up the carbon dioxide, comes back. This is a horrible diagram showing you the same thing. I'm going to show you something else in just a little bit. So we're getting there. The mixture of the gases, like air, exerts the pressure. So each kind of gas in a mixture accounts for the portion of the total pressure, and each gas has partial pressure. I know this is like, this is basically telling you each one has its different way of diffusing. So if you think back to Bio 1, 2, 3, and we talked about diffusion and osmosis, that's what this is talking about. So each one has a very specific level for how it's going to diffuse. Most animals transport the oxygen bound to proteins in the blood, basically. So blue copper containing pigment is used by many mollusks and arthropods. Red iron containing, that's our stuff, containing hemoglobin is used by almost all vertebrates and many inverts. This transports the oxygen and the carbon dioxide and buffers blood. So, I do this all the time. I'm going to use my mom as an example. My mom has a lot of health issues, and she gets iron infusions because she doesn't have enough iron. So yes, that's called anemic. But then a lot of times she doesn't have enough hemoglobin. If she doesn't have enough hemoglobin, then there's no way she has enough iron. But if she doesn't have enough hemoglobin, that means her body can't regulate stuff the way it's supposed to, and she starts to shut down. So she now randomly has to go in and get a bag or two of blood added to her because her body is not producing hemoglobin the way it's supposed to anymore. It's kind of scary, but that's the importance of hemoglobin. Fetal hemoglobin attracts oxygen more strongly than adult hemoglobin. And this is how in utero it works. I know that you have heard that the umbilical cord delivers everything to the baby, mostly, but there is a lot of stuff that diffuses through the placenta, through the walls and stuff like that. So I think that's interesting. Anyway, at birth, the rising carbon dioxide in fetal blood stimulates the breathing control center to initiate breathing. So when the baby is born, it's never had to breathe. Never had the need because all the blood is just, all the oxygen, is just coming in, going out. It's doing its thing. When it's born, it's no longer just pulling in oxygen. And that's why when the baby is born, the baby's not born automatically going, because they've never done it, they've never had to. They're born, the level starts to rise, and then that's when they go, that's the reason. Okay. Should have waited on all that till I had this picture. So this picture is showing you that we do have the umbilical cord, but the placenta has the maternal blood vessels and fetal capillaries. The fetal capillaries are what's picking everything up and dropping things off. So there you go. Oh, I guess it is the next one, circulation. This is the one where we will cover the heart, and I will show you what I was wanting to talk about. I don't think I need to say anything more about the smoking right now. We talked so much about it on Wednesday. I don't think we really need it. Circulatory systems. Open circulatory system, heart pumps the fluid through everything. Closed circulatory system, which is what we have, the heart pumps it through arteries, capillaries, veins. Arteries away, that's what I tell people, arteries away. So the artery is taking the blood away from the heart. The vein is bringing it back to the heart. So you'll end up wanting to remember that later anyway. So this one's talking about the fish heart. Not really going to worry about this. Just know the fish has a 2-chambered heart. 4. So now we're going to get up to here. If I'm not mistaken, a bird also has a 4-chamber heart. And so that when you're doing the whole evolutionary chain, you're getting to see that, we are more closely related to a bird than we are to a fish, because the heart just kept getting a little more detailed by the time it got to us. And I know you can't hear it, but my neighbor just started playing really loud music, and it's a bit distracting because, okay, they're practicing what sounds like a bass guitar. Yes, it's a bass guitar, but they also practice drums. And so I don't know if that's coming next. I'll tell you, they've been improving on the bass. Sounds pretty good. I wish you could hear it. Anyway, so for us, what happens? Well, this one is telling you drains from the superior vena cava or inferior vena cava to the right atrium. I do better with the picture, and I'll show you. Okay, moves out of the lungs through the pulmonary artery, returns to the lungs, left atrium, pulmonary vein, through the aorta, blah, 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 blah. I do better with pictures. This is simply trying to show you that the lungs are connected to your entire circulatory system. And a lot of people don't realize how important your lungs are to your whole cardiovascular system. But they are. So it's another blah picture. I have a much better one, which again, I'm going to show you soon. But basically, this is trying to show you, let's use the little laser pointer here. I know there is one. Oh no, I don't want color. I don't want to draw. Do I not have the laser pointer? Did I pick the wrong thing? Go away. There we go. There's the laser pointer. Yes, I picked the wrong thing. Okay, hopefully you can see the laser pointer. I have no idea if you can. So superior vena cava is on top, inferior vena cava is the bottom. They both come in and they drop into the right atrium. And every time your heart goes boom, 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 it's actually called lub dub, lub dub. It is the valve opening. The valves are like one-way doors because the blood is supposed to only go one direction. So it comes in the superior or the inferior vena cava into the right atrium, goes through here into the right ventricle. When it pumps into here, the gate, the valve is supposed to close. Then the next one, it shoots through this valve, pum, pum, into your lungs. So this is the dirty blood or the oxygen poor blood or deoxygenated blood. Pick your term. I say dirty blood because it's just way easier for me to remember. So your dirty blood, poof, gets dropped into your lungs and it kicks off all that carbon dioxide and your lungs pick it up and you go and you exhale your carbon dioxide. When you go and you inhale your oxygen, the blood picks the oxygen up and goes pew back into your heart, into your left atrium, and then it drops down into your left ventricle. Notice how big the muscle is here. This is a huge, strong muscle because now it has to shove it out the top. So when it goes, it shoots it up out the aorta. And the reason I don't like this is you can't really see the heart well, and it doesn't really give you an idea of what the aorta looks like, which is really cool. But it shoots the blood out through the aorta, which then goes through your body. So through the arteries away, and now it's bringing the oxygenated blood, the oxygen-rich blood, or the clean blood out to the rest of your body so then it can just keep on keeping on. I'm going to turn off the laser pointer. There we go. Yeah. All right. We've heard of blood pressure. So we've got diastole and systole. Diastole of the cardiac cycle is the blood flowing from the veins into the heart. The systole is the contractions as it's pushing the blood into the ventricles. So, and I'm going to show you what that means in just a second. The heart valves, like I said, they're supposed to be like a one-way gate like this. That's to keep the blood from going backwards. If you have a heart murmur, a lot of times it means you have a leaky valve, and that's what they're hearing. The volume of blood that each ventricle pumps per minute is your cardiac output. And your heart rate is literally the number of times your heart beats per minute. And I am very jacked up right now, and my Fitbit tells me my heart rate right now is 87. My resting heart rate tends to be around 59. So that tells you how I'm like right now. But dude, I always get this way when I'm trying to cover things. This is a better picture. So we're going to look over this again with my handy dandy laser pointer. I'm going to do a purple laser pointer. Can I do purple laser pointer? No, I'm only allowed to do red. Well, poo. So again, it comes in the superior or inferior vena cava, pulls up here, and then shoop, shoop into the lungs, and then woo out the aorta. And so this is what I was talking about. The aorta is a lot cooler than that other one made it look like. So it's got these different parts that come shooting out. And turn it off. So we talked about the systole and the diastole. So the systole, it's trying to show you here that the atria contracts, then the ventricle contracts. So these are where I was talking about the lub-dub, lub-dub. And when the heart is relaxed, this is the diastole. The SA node generates the electrical impulses in the atria and sets the rate for your heart contractions. The AV node relays the signals to the ventricles, triggers ventricular contractions. And then you have the electrocardiogram, the ECG or EKG. I've never seen it listed as ECG. I've always heard EKG. This is where they're detecting the electrical impulses in your heart. And this is how they can tell you how healthy they believe your heart is. They hook all those little things. I've had so many of these, it's insane. They hook all these little things on you. And the SA node, AV node, this is what they're measuring. They are literally measuring how consistent, basically, these are, making sure they're paced out properly, that it's not like, that kind of thing, because consistency is key. Heart attack. We go right there, don't we? Damage or death of cardiac muscle tissue, usually from a blocked coronary artery. More than half of all deaths in the United States are caused by cardiovascular disease. This is a huge thing. We've talked about it. This is why I keep warning about marijuana and CBD1, because they are both very not good for the cardiovascular system. And we have been seeing a rise for it. And I keep telling everybody, please don't just take my word for it. Research, research, research. Not related to that, but to the heart attacks. My father died of a heart attack at the age of 43, I believe it was 42 or 43. I think it was 43. Really young, in my opinion, to die of a heart attack. And that makes me a little more conscious of the heart things. A stroke is the death of brain tissue due to the lack of oxygen because of ruptures or blockage of arteries in the head. My mom has had a few different strokes. So I'm very conscious of what can go wrong in your body. And that's part of why I've made a lot of my various decisions about my own personal health, both my dietary choices and other choices. And this is why when I seem like I'm just going off about marijuana and smoking cigarettes and alcohol, it sounds like I'm just like, but this is why it's right here. Because what I have discovered as I've gotten older is no one told me when I was younger that these were issues that I might not see problems of when I was way back then, but they don't go away. It just builds and builds and builds. Also, why I've lectured everybody, you need to go get your cholesterol checked, because as you start clogging up your veins and arteries, which, read that slide again, when you start clogging up your veins and arteries, that plaque never goes away, not without some kind of medical intervention. It just keeps building more. So the earlier you find out that you might be adding these speed bumps throughout your veins and arteries, the sooner you can stop adding to them, and then you have better luck as you get older. We know my goal is at least 111. So I have to be careful. I have to do what I'm supposed to do, because I sure as did not way back then. And that's why a lot of you that are younger, it seems like I'm going, because I wish I had known some of this when I was younger. And so it's not that I'm trying not to let you have your own choice. I'm not trying to change your brain. I'm trying to make sure that you are not being blind to facts. So you can, like I've said, I think I've said it in class multiple times, you do what you want. That is fine. I'm not trying to change you. I just want you to know, here it is, so you make an informed decision, because it's not fun when you get to the back half of your life and go, why didn't anyone tell me? So there you go. Off my soapbox on that one. Arteries in most victims of a stroke or heart attack become impaired gradually by chronic cardiovascular disease known as that word. My mom has this. She never told me. I found this out last year when I was there for one of her surgeries, and I can't remember if it was the doctor, the anesthesiologist. One of them was going through her stuff, and then they told her about this. It's pretty bad. So take care of your health, please. Showing you a heart, and then showing you the dead muscle tissue. Because if you have a blockage in a vein or artery in your heart, The oxygen can't get to those areas. It's going to die. So there you go. We have the healthy one, the not healthy one. So oh, I don't feel like turning on the stupid laser pointer again. You can see the plaque built up. The plaque build up, then things start to get caught. That can cause a blood clot. When the blood clot goes, you don't know where it's going to go. If it shoots all the way up into your brain, it can facilitate a stroke. If it shoots into your heart, depending on the size, it can cause the heart attack. A heart attack. It can also just cause your heart to like skip a tad. This is really serious stuff. I don't want to get back up onto my soapbox on this. So here we go. If you have ever heard about somebody getting a stent, my mom has these. What they do is they literally go in there to the vein or artery, whatever. And this one is showing you the artery. They go in there, they open it up, and they put in this little mesh to try to hold it open. And the huge thing about this is when you have stents, you 100% have to be on blood thinners. You guys have heard me talk about my issue with my mom and her blood thinners. You have to be on blood thinners because the blood has to be thin enough to still be able to flow through. And if your blood gets too thick, it's going to clog it up. That also brings back, again, that osmosis thing and me always telling you how much you need to drink water. If you're not drinking enough water, if you remember me talking about osmosis, it's trying to be balanced out. Your body will start to pull the water from your blood cells and into the surrounding tissue because it's trying to stay balanced. When it pulls the water out of your blood cells, it makes the blood cells less mobile, for lack of a better phrase. They don't go as easily. So they're more likely to start to get and then get caught up on things and get stuck and then have like a whole traffic jam. So again, importance of hydration. Structure and function of blood vessels. Arteries away, arteries away. There's more pressure when your heart goes and it. So arteries need to be stronger. They need to be able to handle the pressure more. So because of that, they're more elastic. So they're going to do this. That's what they're going to have to do. And it's so funny. I don't even know if you can see me. I do all this gesticulating and I have no clue if you can see me in the corner or not. Veins have thinner walls and lower blood pressure and velocity. That means it's not supposed to be moving as fast through the veins because the veins are not as elastic. Capillaries are the tiniest. These are the ones that just kind of, like I said, they taper off. They're like the roots. And so they go, and then that stuff just diffuses. Showing you, I guess, the capillary and diffusion. There you go. The small diameter and thin walls of capillaries facilitate the exchange of substances between blood and interstitial fluid. Not really going to worry about that. Blood pressure. We're going to talk about that systole and diastole again. So blood pressure depends on cardiac output and the resistance of vessels. Pressure is the highest in the arteries, like I just said. The blood velocity is slowest in the capillaries. Your skeletal muscles, remember, are only voluntary muscles. Your skeletal muscle contractions and one-way valves keep the blood moving through the hearts or through the veins to the heart. So it's just pushing it along. Blood pressure, as I just said a second ago, systolic and diastolic. We're coming back to it. High hypertension, serious cardiovascular problem that in most cases can be controlled. A lot of ways to control this before you get to the point of having to take medication is through diet and exercise. And remember, when I say diet, I mean what you are consuming. I do not mean like I do the Atkins diet. It means literally the your nutrition. Okay. Prolonged hypertension, major cause of heart attack, heart disease, stroke, and kidney failure. When you have hypertension, high blood pressure, this is extremely dangerous. It's not a, yeah, well, my grandpappy had high blood pressure. My mom always had high blood pressure. They lived to be blah, blah, blah. You take it seriously, please. So this is just showing you doing the pressure cuff, blah, blah, blah. Oh, it actually does say that sound stop. That's pretty cool. So pretty much here, if you have got the person who's doing the and they've got the stethoscope here, they're pumping it, they jot down the first reaction. And as the air is going out, more blood starts to flow through. That's what it's trying to show you there. And when they hear it, they jot it down. And then when the sound stops, they jot that down. So that's letting you know this number and this number. You're not supposed to talk or move or cross your ankles when you're getting your blood pressure taken because that can affect your heart rate. And they're trying to get a good thing. If somebody is ever taking your blood pressure and it's like somebody who really knows what they're doing and it feels really tight, like once they pump it up, I promise you, your blood pressure is going to be high. It's the craziest thing. I didn't believe that for the longest time. I just had my doctor's visit yesterday and I can't remember my bottom number. Top number was 112. I was so happy. It does not hurt at all. And I remember a few times when I would tell them that it was hurting, they were like, and every time they said it, my blood pressure was high. I thought that was kind of interesting. So if you're in there getting your blood pressure and do your breathing, try to calm yourself. Try to do that a little bit before they start and stay still. Dude, the number of times they told me don't move and then don't cross your ankles because the only way I could stop moving was to cross my ankles, but then you're not supposed to do that either. It took me forever to do this right. If you do that when they strap it on, as soon as they start pumping it up, if you can stay doing your calm breathing, you will get a better idea of what your actual blood pressure is. And again, if it hurts when they're pumping it up, I promise you your blood pressure is already high. So 1 in 3 American adults have hypertension. 1 in 3. So these are the numbers to look at. Your systolic, that's the one that I got, 112. Yay! I'm in the normal range. I don't remember what my diastolic was for the life of me. She told me, and it just went in one ear, out the other. But she said it was good. I just don't remember. Pre-hypertension, a lot of people are, oh, well, that's not bad. You need to take note. If you are consistently having pre-hypertension, that means now is the time to start making small adjustments because it's harder to make big adjustments. So if you start making small adjustments to bring it down, you'll be more successful. Once you get to stage 1, you're probably going to have your doctor talking to you about medication. Stage 2 hypertension, 100% you're on medication. Because when you start going above 160, that starts getting you closer to stroke level. And that is not something you want to play with. All right. We've talked about smooth muscles in a previous class. And so there you go. Just letting you know, it can influence the blood pressure, changing the resistance. Yeah, not even going to worry about that. Already talked about the capillaries and how it comes out, and they're teeny tiny, diffuse. Osmotic pressure, that goes back with what I was saying when I kept talking about osmosis. Structure and function of blood. We have plasma, red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. So the plasma is the biggest portion. This is, shall we say, the liquid. Our red blood cells are what's transporting the oxygen to the hemoglobin. The white blood cells, these are our little army men. I talk about these guys all the time. Some of these are going to be phagocytes, and these are the ones that go and gulp them up. We talked about the phagocytes back in Bio 123. Platelets are there in order to help clot the blood. Now, fun fact, the ERYTHRO, that means red. Or at least the ERYTH, I believe, means red. Cyte, CYT, I've told you before, whenever you see that, just know that means cell. So you can tell just by looking at the name, which is the red blood cell. Leuk, Leuk, That is white. So that is white blood cells. Platelets, thromb something. I'm trying to remember the name. Anyway, it doesn't mean the same. And that drove me crazy. But anyway, these are what help with blood clotting. So when I told you plasma is the main portion of your blood, there you go. So if you have ever gone to an urgent care or an ER because you're really sick, they took some blood, and then they come back and they're like, you're dehydrated. That's how they know. If there's not enough plasma, you're clearly dehydrated. We have a lab on the blood flow and blood slides. I am hoping that we can, I'm hoping that Monday the weather permits us to go into the lab and then we can maybe do the blood slides. Trying to figure out a way to make it happen. So anyway, we'll look at all those things then. Just breaking it down so you can see what's in the plasma. And then this is more of the same. Adequate number of red blood cells essential for healthy body function. This is what I was just talking about with my mom. So anemia tends to be low hemoglobin, low red blood cells. And then that can also count with the low iron. This causes fatigue because you don't have enough oxygen in your tissues. If you're not getting enough oxygen to your body doesn't have the energy to keep going. So you can also see, I'll tell you this from the last time I had to take my mom to the ER. And in the ER, they immediately had to give her like 2 bags of blood. That tells you how bad it was. Her hemoglobin count, I think, was it like 4.8 or something? It was scary. She was so pale. And this is why, if you don't have the blood running, the blood gives you color, and so does the oxygen that the blood is providing to the tissues. And I don't think I will ever forget what that looked like. You have this particular hormone that will stimulate your bone marrow to produce more red blood cells. So all of your blood is being produced by your bone marrow, just so you know. Not going to worry about this. This is how they help clog a leak, for lack of a better phrase. Say that your skin gets poked. There's a hole. The blood starts coming out. The platelet goes, oh no, and then they run in there and just clog it up. That's literally their job. They clog it up, make a nice little mesh net, trap everything in, also trying to trap things out. And then the cell, the skin, the whatever starts to fix itself and repairs it. So our platelets, super important. If somebody is too low on platelets, then that's when they tend to, I'm trying to remember it's probably going to be on another slide in just a moment, but I'm trying so hard. Crap. All that's in my head is free bleeder, because it means that the platelets don't clot and so you can bleed out easily. Which reminds me, if you have this issue or if you are on blood thinners, definitely if you are on blood thinners, you have to be careful of bumping. So like if you bump yourself, a bruise, if you've ever noticed a bruise on your body, that is where you hit something and it broke blood vessels deep inside you. What you see as a bruise is the blood that escaped and it comes up to the surface while your body's reabsorbing it. So, gosh, I almost had the name. Why can I not remember the name? But anyway, if you have that or you're on blood thinners, you might not actually close up. It might keep bleeding. That's why if you are on specific blood thinners, they also tell you anytime you bump your head, you have to tell somebody, because it is possible to get a brain bleed from bumping your head if your platelets aren't working the way they're supposed to. Goodness, I almost had it. Why can I not remember this? Anyway, so stem cells, super duper important. We've already talked about these in a previous class. The stem cells are not differentiated. So that means the stem cell doesn't know what it's going to be yet. And so here, when the stem cell divides, one daughter cell stays as a stem cell waiting to be told. The other one is told what to do. So it might become a red blood cell, it might become a white blood cell, it might become a neutrophil, which is a type of white blood cell, it might become platelet, whatever. Leukemia is cancer of the leukocytes, which are the white blood cells. So that is why if somebody has leukemia, a lot of times they can get on a donor list for bone marrow transplant, because if they can fix the bone marrow, then the body can start producing their own stuff again, which I think is pretty cool. Just showing you stem cell is told what to become. So there you go. Oh, we're done. Yay. So I finished those two, and that makes me happy because that was my goal today. And I don't even know. Yeah, I don't think it even took me a full hour, or it might be close to an hour. I was afraid it was going to take two, and I really didn't want to do that. So I have some ideas for labs for us to do. I'm hoping we can get them done. I am hoping you guys watch this before Monday. If not on Monday, I will tell you to watch it, and I will work on figuring out how to adjust the syllabus so it's not as rushed, and figure out what we can cover. But yeah, so hopefully this helped. Hopefully it's not too confusing, because I know I get all kinds of distracted, and I still can't think of that flipping, totally Googling it right now because I can't. I can't. La, la, la. Wow, that is not at all what I'm trying to look up. Hmm. Okay. Don't Google the term. Okay, so let's see. Apparently now there's something else that means not at all what I was meaning. So, what is it called when your blood does not clot? Hemophilia. Oh, there you go. I should have gotten that hemo for blood. Um, you know how it goes. Sometimes a word is just never going to catch. There you go. Hemophilia. I guess that's it. And I will see you on Monday. So peace out.